Hello, my name is Adam Lanz. I teach English at TrekNorth, and I've been one of the advisors for the senior class this past year. I want to begin by saying that I really struggled to write this speech, given what's going on in the world right now. But I'm also very honored to speak at a graduation ceremony, unlike any we've ever had before. These past few weeks, we've been having Zoom meetings for college prep. We're right there on the screen next to one another, but we're all in different places. I'm here in my basement. Liga's in Latvia, Isabella's in Brazil, Steph, Mia, and Victoria are probably in East Grand Forks. But we're all also here, in the Zoom. The thing with social distancing is that it reminds me how closely we're connected, not just as a class or a school, but as a species. The way COVID-19 survives and thrives is through our closeness and connectedness with one another. The virus is able to spread unless we keep our social distance. Maybe it's the English dork in me, but I find it ironic that COVID-19 and social distancing force us apart while constantly reminding us how close we are to one another. No doubt, this global event is going to have an enormous impact on how you see the world for the rest of your lives. 9/11 happened when I was just a little older than you, and now that I have the luxury of some time and perspective, remember how far-reaching these global events can affect how an individual sees the world. This global event has us all feeling a little lonely or disconnected. It's a terrible time for you to have to be disconnected from the people you've stood shoulder to shoulder with for the past year, or 2 years, 4 years, or maybe, for many of you, 7 years. I want to acknowledge how the hearts of everyone at TrekNorth go out to the students, but especially your class, who must carry an especially difficult burden of social distancing in this time that should be filled with closeness and connectedness. But the loneliness and the frustration you're feeling will pass, I guarantee it. I don't really know how to give a graduation speech, or really any speech, without digressing into a story. Stories are the fabric of our life, and as a completely biased commentator on their importance, they help us understand that despite physical distance we maintain right now, we're not alone in our thoughts and our feelings and experiences. When I was your age, I imagined myself having an adventure on my bicycle, moving across the country day after day. It didn't really matter where I was going, I just needed to go somewhere. I went to college 10 minutes from home instead of really going anywhere. But I always knew I was going to spend some time on an epic trip that actually went somewhere. Once I finished up undergrad, I decided I was going to make this trip happen. There was a camp down in the Florida Keys where I found summer work. I saved my money, bought my gear, made my plans, and headed out from my parents' house in St. Cloud on March 21st. It was cold, if you're wondering. On my bike, by myself, planning to have an adventure biking nearly 3,000 miles. New things are exciting for a while, you know. Bowen's maybe feeling excited with his new home in Wyoming. Steph, Mia, and Victoria are probably feeling this with their new apartment in East Grand Forks. We feel this at the beginning of every school year. Even Zoom calls were kind of a fun novelty in early April. But as the school year wears on, it's less interesting. It's less exciting to see your friends and teachers. Less fun to grind through the complexities of the subject. It's less thrilling to change your Zoom background to something that gets a chuckle from your class. Just so you know, in case you ever want to bike across the country, it's the exact same thing. By day 15, I'd gotten myself in shape, and become comfortable in the routine, and accepted that this was the new norm. What I didn't know was how difficult it can be to be lonely. We can have Zoom meetings and watch each other from cars, and we can text and send 1,000 emails a day. It helps, but it's nothing like being near the people we want to be near as we work through these milestones in our lives. My logical brain comprehends, but it's hard for me to believe that Martina is in Italy, Isabella is in Brazil, Liga, Julianne, Tamina, Latvia, France, Tajikistan. You're all still there in the Zoom meetings at college prep. You're right there, but you're not. After a few weeks on the road on my bike trip, I felt this same loneliness. Sure, I'd see people in the grocery stores or the greasy spoons I'd stop at to get my daily rations, but I was never close to anyone. People drove by or camped in the next site over, but no one knew me or knew what I was doing. Once in rural Alabama, I asked a man for directions. He pointed the way, but he warned me that this particular county road was the Ho Chi Minh Trail for bicyclists. It seemed like quite an exaggeration to compare this sleepy county road to a notoriously deadly supply route during the Vietnam War. I didn't heed his warning, and, as you can probably guess, I made it down that county road unscathed. For me, this encounter was one of many that marked the disconnect between myself and those around me. I met some interesting people. The grubby idealists raising money for Greenpeace at the KOA. The retiree living out of his minivan, seeking truth about his non-profit donations. And the father camping with his youngest son, months after his older son died suddenly. These connections were fleeting. These were good, interesting, warm-hearted people trying to do their best with larger-than-life, really important issues, who I could be near, but I could never be close to because I jumped on my bike and I rode away before I could make any real connections. It feels like that now. I know you're incredible people. I've heard Sid saying and Jenna stay positive after nearly breaking her leg cross-country skiing. I've watched Antonio win boxing matches. I've seen Mia get a 5 on my AP test. And I've helped Bowen get out of the frozen lake after I told him it was probably okay to walk where he was walking. You're really amazing people who are going to do great things. But there is this great distance between us right now, which can be frustrating. After 45 days of biking through America, I got where I was going. I wasn't expecting a grand parade or anything, but it's kind of anticlimactic to pull into the parking lot of a camp and have to search around for someone to talk to, and then to ask if it was okay if I was there a few days early, and then to have to ask if I could put my bike someplace safely. I still felt alone, even though I should have been really proud of what I'd accomplished. You'll land someplace like this in the coming months, someplace where you'll want a grand welcoming because you have made it. Isn't everyone happy for you? But the loneliness will linger a little longer. At the camp where I was working, I started fixing a few things up around camp and working with some of the other early arrivals. Slowly and surely, I began making new friends. I don't think any of them were as lonely as I was, but without a doubt in my mind, the loneliness I experienced in the previous days and weeks made the relationships I was able to make that summer special and lifelong. You're all connected through the time you spent at Trek. We are experiencing a profound loneliness at this time when we should be connected and celebrating. While it may not feel like it, there will be an end to this new normal. We will appreciate the relationships we've made at Trek in a different way because of what we're going through right now. And in the coming months and years, we will make new relationships that will be forged in this renewed appreciation for close relationships. The distance we need to maintain now is a byproduct of our closeness that we have formed and the similarities we all share. As humans, we need one another. And you know this, and your class knows it. This experience that we're having right now is proof of it. While I certainly know that it feels like you're being robbed of an important life event, you hopefully will look back on it as an ironic time when you remember how close your class has been throughout the years. You will remember that this hardship that you had to bear, but you'll also remember it as an opportunity to show your resilience and perseverance through this isolation. Congratulations, TrekNorth class of 2020. We miss you all, and we wish you the best. Thank you.